Hey there, welcome to C&T Collectibles. I'm C. Hope you are doing well. This is your weekly sports card chart blast. We'll take a look at some of our favorite collectibles and the price action therein. Price is truth. We'll start off with some of the indices. We'll get into a few players within those indices. We'll look at kind of a broad overview of some of the major sports and how they're trending, what are the relative outperformers, and then we'll look at a few individual players overall. And just kind of see what we see here. So we've got a rookie that's gotten off to a nice start. He was incredible in the minor leagues, and we'll look at a veteran that was on his way back, but things didn't quite work out as hoped. So with that said, over the last week, we are looking at the Culture 51. This is their pop culture, Card Ladder's pop culture index, leading the way up nearly 8%. It's been down the past couple of weeks, and again, when something is up a lot or down a lot, it tends to reverse sooner rather than later in a similar fashion to how it was rising or falling. So if something's down very quickly, it tends to come back very quickly. If it's been a slow grind up or down, then you can have a slow grind in the opposite direction. The Card Ladder 50, these are kind of their goats for lack of a better word. And we'll take an in-depth look at kind of the top 10 on that one: golf, vintage, and baseball. In mid-population, having a nice week. Football on the low end here, and it's a lot of vintage names, low pop. Modern and ultra modern bringing up the rear. All right, start off with that Culture 50 and a lot of the risers in there. Nirvana Spider-Man. I think that the Nirvana card, we were looking at it in that sticker. It was around $35 a couple weeks ago, I want to say, and so it's had a nice week here, but it dropped to the bottom of the range. So if you're quick, we had that range outline, so you have to be quick on some of these, and there's usually just one available in a lot of those one-offs. And so if you are if there's a bunch of people that want them, sorry. So basically just one person. So Luke Skywalker and Snoop Dogg doing well. I won't take a huge look at those, but the Card Ladder 50 I think is kind of interesting here. These are a lot of the bigger names in the hobby and in a higher grade as well. And so over the past couple of weeks, we've talked about some of the low end getting a little bit of a bid, and this is how markets start to recover. A lot of the stuff that's beaten up the most will tend to come back. And now we're starting to see some of the big names get a little bit of action, and so people are coming back into the market. Perhaps we'll have to see how that goes, but they're coming back, and now they're starting to spend a little bit of money, which is nice. They're paying up for quality as well, and so when you have markets in kind of a topping process, people will pay up for the Johnsons and Johnsons and the healthcare names, the utility names, and just the quality names with dividends. And so that's what these kind of are, even though they've been rocked. But people are happy to just kind of buy those, hold them, and figure they'll hold their value a little bit better than other parts of the market here. So we can see some of those big names, and again, in a pretty decent grade as well. So there's some confidence, but they're going for the big names here. So Joe Montana, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Tim Duncan, Jerry Rice, Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan. So we'll take a quick look at some of those here. Joe Montana in the PSA 9 $2,300 card. So you can see that we're at a previous level of support back in 2020, and we're getting a nice bounce off of that one. And so the downtrend has been persistent and volatile, and that's starting to pick up just a little bit here. Still volatile, so again, one person can shoot this thing up to $3,000 or take it back down to $2,000. I don't know where that next purchase comes in, but we've had a false breakout before. Maybe this one does it, and this reference level perhaps is enough of a signal that, hey, we're going to see some more buying come into some of these vintage cards here. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, same thing. You had your declining wedge, and we're seeing a little bit of a breakout there. So what we want to see on some of these is some more buying step in. We want to see that breakout hold, so maybe a retest or something, but we don't want to come back into that downtrend here. So something worth watching. But these are the first signs that the market could be ready to heal itself. And again, this was kind of a grind lower, so a rocket back up, probably not happening, but a grind back up, perhaps. There's just a lot of buying and market memory in here that we're going to have to fight through on a lot of these names here. So Tim Duncan in that PSA 10, again, you have to squint a little bit, but if you do, then you can see perhaps a little breakout in that one as well. And this kind of comes to the theory that cards are they're an asset class within the collectibles market here. And so within that card asset class, you've got the high-end goats, and you've got the lower end and all that kind of stuff here. So I think they'll travel largely the same, and we're seeing that here. Jerry Rice, again, PSA 9, kind of a high-quality card. It's broken out and broken down falsely in the past here, so we'll see if this time is different. It's a big riser this week here, taking you from the previous level of kind of the support zone and ripping out of the range. And so we'll see if that's a little too much too quick. But again, that breakout is a potentially positive sign. Wayne Gretzky support level and bouncing off of that nicely. And Michael Jordan in the PSA 9, $25,000 card here. Off of its it was about 90,000 or something at some point, yeah, 89,000. So we've had these little breakouts before, and they haven't held. And so this time we're seeing a little bit more buying here. People a little bit more willing to kind of pay up for that. And at some point, you'll just have a lot of people in here. These are buys, but they're also sells. And if they're thinking they can get a lower as this price goes up, they're going to start coming back in with their fear of missing out, or FOMO. Barry Sanders in a PSA 10 as well. So kind of a sideways action here, but ticking up, and perhaps we'll see some more upside to this card here. 1750 has been the previous highs on this one, with the exception of that one-off, and we're sitting at $1,400. So there's a little bit of upside potentially on that card as well. So again, a lot of those bigger names in the higher grade are getting some love here. So Luka Silver in that index as well. I wouldn't put him in the mix with a lot of those other players as of yet, but he's had a nice little run here. But this brings it up to the top of the previous range, and so this has been a decent move on a little bit lower volume, and we've seen this before. A couple of purchases brought it up, and a couple of purchases brought it up, and so that we punched through right away, I'm not so sure. We'll see. I don't know. But the risk reward doesn't set up favorably on that particular card. And so if you correlate this with the stock markets, as I kind of like to do, the S&P's had a monster rally as well, but now you're hitting kind of the top of the range, which is coinciding with the 200-day moving average for whatever that's worth. Momentum is starting to potentially roll over just a little bit, and so you may have to give a little back here. And so you've got that area, 4,200, call it 4,200, that should act as support. If not, then we've got some more downside to go, sub 4,000 or something perhaps. And so we'll see. If it just rebuilds up some momentum and busts out, that'd be a very good sign. So, yeah. So a lot of those cards as well. Again, there's a similar psychology. If this is kind of the top in the market, it's going to go down. People are going to get a little bit skittish. And those cards that are sitting at resistance are breaking out. This could be false breaks, and those could pull back as well. So, all right, major indices. Haven't done this before, but helps us to find some leadership football coming back into an area of support. Big volume kind of on this last sale for the total index here. So lots of buying in this area, a lot of consolidation. So again, looking at the charts over the past few weeks, it does look like football, especially some of the lower end names, is they're ready to have a little bit of fun. They're ready to maybe do a little something. The McCaffreys and in those names there, the Brady's and the Mahomes, the really expensive cards, haven't really gotten it going yet here. But some of those mid-end cards are looking like they want to perhaps pop heading into the season. We shall see. A lot of decliners over the past week, though. So what this is what kind of let it down is, again, the Mahomes, Jim Brown for some reason, and Jerry Rice. Just the lower grade versions of them as well. So people that put some money in, that Jerry Rice is always bouncing around between like 70 and 100 or something like that. So we'll see. But again, there's some love in the higher end card market, but the mid end and the lower end not so much. Basketball breaking its level of support, continues to trend down, very persistent. Volume is picking up on that downward move. Baseball, one of your relative outperformer, as it's just remained flat for the most part. Hockey also flat, top of the range there. It's been a pretty nice outperformer for the past really few months. Over the last couple of weeks, a lot of that vintage hockey's been going as well. I don't know if it's vintage, but the mid 80s to early 90s stuff here. Soccer, relatively flat as well. Pokemon breaking its support level here and trending lower on increasing volume. Racing, top of the range, and trending a little bit lower. So that Racing Mania was an outperformer for a while, and starting to give that back a little bit. Volume hasn't really broken down as of yet. So, all right, a couple individual players here. Mike Trout on that rookie card, again, I'm just kind of fascinated by that card as his injury. So, one of the things happens with the stock or a player or anything like that, when the clarity, markets can handle good news, they can handle bad news, right? You just need news, you need clarity. And so with Mike Trout, we don't know with that back injury how that shakes out. And so with that, especially at the higher end, people are just kind of saying, that's enough for the time being. So 7,800 was the previous low here. Now we're sitting at 8,300. So it's gotten a little bit of an uptick, which is a good thing here. So if it can hang on, this is kind of a support zone. Just wondering if it can make its way down to 4,000. It's not ready to do that as of yet. So Juan Soto, kind of the opposite end. Maybe this is your next big thing. Everyone's looking for that next big that guy who can be the next top 5 all-time player or something like that. So he's got the hitting profile to it. His play has ticked up certainly over the past month, or at least people have noticed it. And so we were at support for a while, which was either a great chance to buy or last chance to sell. And it's turned out to be a great chance to buy, as that thing has been moving upwards over the past few weeks nicely. All right, we'll look at a few players that have had a good week in Major League Baseball. We'll start off with Alex Bregman, who for the season has over 130 weighted runs created. Really has been playing quite well, so the power hasn't been there. He's not that 35, 40 home run guy that he was in 2018, 2019. But everything else looks really good. The batting average is a little bit low, but again, he's correcting that. He's got an elite batting profile, but over the last week, he's really turned on the gas. We're hoping to get around side, catch my breath a little bit here. So, anyways, hoping to break him down a little bit more in depth next week with a special guest from the Houston area here. So, anyways, coming back to a level of support. It's a cheap card. All right, we're talking about like $20 or something like that. The base chrome, and again, the way that he's been playing, I think there's probably some opportunity there. But with the trend being down, it's like, oh, what the heck? But there's probably worse players to spend $20 on here. Manny Machado also just having an incredible season here, and the last couple of weeks have been terrific, giving you one of the better opportunities in a while to pick up one of his cards. I've noticed that some of the higher end refractors chrome cards have been doing pretty well at auction, and so card that just has the base. That's why I gotta work with what I have here. But as those other cards go up, then people will start to trade down into some of the more regular cards, the chromes, the refractors, and ultimately the base in a high condition. And so that's perhaps another opportunity. And Shohei Ohtani, this is a card we've looked at for a while and said, kind of $100 is maybe your line in the sand. This previous level of support. And that's where we're at right now. And so we'll see if that there could be a little bit more. $80 to $100 was kind of the range here. So we'll see if it's able to hold in here. But if that's a card you've been wanting, again, one of the better opportunities we've had in the recent past. All right, this guy. Ready to come back, and it's like, all right. Well, I thought it was. We're looking at it as chrome. It's like, all right, it's at level of support. The trend is still down, but if you can manage risk, then this may be an interesting pickup. And there's no way to manage risk on some of these things when you have these kinds of surprises, whether it's earnings or PEDs, I guess in this case injuries or something a little bit more unexpected. There's really nothing you can do. Those prices just tend to collapse very quickly. People want out at any cost, and so that's what's happened on some of the higher end stuff here. But again, we've had a sell on Tatis for a while. There's been opportunities. There's been chances to take risk if it's been managed, and the best way to do that is with the high volume stuff. And so this is just his base card, and that's been trending down. And people are taking that one in stride a little bit. I mean, it's down so much. I think they're just holding it as some sort of lottery ticket. But if we look at some of the more higher end cards, like the X Fractor and the regular, the regular refractor prism, things of that nature, those are starting to get hit just a bit here. So I'm not even going to pretend to say, here's a potential target or anything like that. Again, there's no clarity on that card. What is the? I mean, we know the suspension, but as far as longer term, and the dude's played the equivalent of like a season and a half or something like that. It's been really terrific. But until we start seeing some of these PED guys, I mean, Ortiz maybe he's like a minor floodgate open, but some of the other guys start to get some consideration from the hall, and it's probably not going to come from the baseball writers, maybe the Veterans Committee or something like that. I mean, his long-term upside is probably capped at some level here. So again, those higher-end cards, people that put a lot of money in, they're just saying I want out. So Neo did a nice video on that. It's like sometimes you just got to say that's enough. And this might be it, but again, we've had sells on these for a while. There's been opportunities here and there, or chances to take, but at this point, it's like, all right, forget it. Just speculate at some point, right? But I don't think this is the time here. And a player just recently got called up for the Mets. Brett Batty. I don't know how to pronounce. I haven't heard it pronounced. I'm aware of him or whatever, but he came up and hit a home run in his first at bat. That's a big deal. But if you look at it in the minors, I mean, this is a prospect that that grades out, 60 power, raw power is a 70 on the 2080 scale. So a very high-end power prospect. And he's got a good eye at the plate. Pounce curveballs. You're not going to throw a ton past him. This year, split between AA and AAA. He's had a relatively full season. and hitting about 400. So it's pretty insane stuff here. We'll see how that translates. And so when these guys get called up, not necessarily the time to buy usually presents a pretty good selling opportunity because they tend to, more often than not always, fail that first time out, right? And then, the off season or when they have that first slump, which, typically happens, that presents a better buying opportunity. But right now he's about as relevant as he's going to be, at least in the near future. So probably not the chance to buy, not the greatest time to buy. So if we look at his 2019 Bowman Draft, this is I think this is the raw, maybe? No, this is the Bowman or whatever. Yeah, the BGS 9510 or the auto. Getting up to an area where selling has taken place in the past. And the raw card, so the raw, the raw to grade is back here. So that's been absolutely ripping. So if you have if you need the Brett Brady card, probably a better time. And it could go higher. The Mets look like they're headed for the playoffs if he's a big part of that and has some fall heroics. Then this could be a card that continues to rip, and you can just, I would say, it at this point, maybe just goes without you. Just kind of watch it and see what happens here. But, probably not the time to buy it last. So if you've got the Rob Addy cards, maybe this is the time to start to get rid of them here. So, yeah, if you're a PC guy, if collecting them, don't care, whatever, you got it cheap, then so be it, or whatever. But if you're doing it for profit, then this is usually the time to do it on that call up and while they're performing well. So a couple football, we've got the Mahomes Optic Hollow. Again, trending down, and it's hit an area of resistance and getting rejected a little bit, but there's been a lot of buying here, more than we've seen in a while. And so, coming back into this zone, it seems like maybe it's time to start buying some of these guys here. So again, that football index at an interesting level, and a lot of those cards within the index at an interesting level as well. But I just look at that volume, and it's like, okay, a lot of people willing to step in and purchase here. That's a good sign. And so while the trend is down, we may be finding some level of support here. So you take your shots here, or you wait for the breakout, I guess, for that one. But I mean, he's still a good player here, right? So and then we'll look at Javonte Williams, kind of at the top. This card's a couple bucks, right? But this is another one of those. We looked at Jalen Waddle, Justin Jefferson a couple weeks ago. It was a $40 raw silver, and I haven't been able to find one less than $60 or $70. So, been looking, but I haven't been able to find one. But you look at a Jalen Waddle for $7 and Javonte Williams. These are some players that could really outperform their draft spots, and if they perform well in fantasy, they're gonna have some relevance, and that could be enough to get those card prices going. But again, that raw to grade may be an opportunity on some of those players here. So Giannis in basketball. You're finding a level of support here. So a lot of buying. You got kind of your fake break here, but starting to tick up. And we've had this 1200 level defended a few times, and here we are again. And so that risk reward sets up favorably for the time being. And again, as basketball starts to come back on the radar, looking for some of these guys. I mean, here's one of the generational guys that maybe people will start to flock to instead of speculating. It's like, if I'm going to spend money on a higher end card, I'm going to do it on a player like Giannis, who's probably going to have some longer term relevance. So we'll wind it up here with the GOAT C3PO in a PSA 8, ranging around what was that, $800, and now it's about $500. So yeah, it's just kind of batting around. It's at support. Risk reward sets up pretty favorably, but it is a volatile card here or whatever. So yeah, if you're looking for that, if you've got a real to get that card, there it is. Have at it, and that's what I got for you. Have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll talk to you later. Bye now.